Hello everyone. So today I'm going to tell you the story of from a novel called The Woman in the Window, and it is written by A.J. Finn. They're going to come up with a movie next year. I think starring Amy Adams. I think yeah, Amy Adams as the protagonist of the novel, and her name in the novel is Anna Fox. So what you're seeing here is a window, and the room where I am in is darkened. So right now I'm in New York, yeah, and that's New York. So it's just the building opposite ours, and it's very ironic that I chose to do this actually because I was going to film outside in Central Park, but I didn't do it because it's too cold, and I just wanted it to be you know, do a video shooting while I spoke about the story. Sorry. Okay, so here goes. The story about Anna Fox and the woman in the window. So, Anna Fox is a child psychologist. Okay, child psychologist staying in New York. And she's staying alone because her marriage is not going so well. So her husband is living with their daughter. Sorry. Her husband's name is Ed, and the daughter is Olivia. So Ed and Olivia, they stay together, and they're not that far, but out of the city. So Anna and Ed and Olivia, they chat every evening and whatnot. So she's in constant touch with them, they're in constant touch with her. So that's how her life is going. But Anna has a condition. Um, she okay, where she's staying right now in New York is a building, and the whole building belongs to her. So she's doing well financially. She always had. She has rented out the basement to a guy who is a decent guy, and she being a child psychologist, she takes care of children and sometimes even grown-ups online. She doesn't like to see them in person anymore because of the condition that she faces. So she doesn't want to come in direct contact or get too personal with anybody of her patients, especially. So she um, guides them online. So she has that account on a certain website or an app, and whenever she goes online, her username is the doctor is in. So whenever she goes online, the people or the patients see that the doctor is online, and so they ask her questions or bombard her with questions because there are many of her patients, and she's good. So the word always gets around. Sorry for the cough. So the word always gets around, and she has a decent amount of patients. Um, so she does that almost the entire day. The other hobby, or a couple of other hobbies that she has, is one, playing chess, and she's very good at it. Very, very good at it. Online chess, where she plays with other opponents around the globe and wins a fair amount of matches in a day. Yeah, she plays, I guess, around 5 or 6 matches and wins almost all every day. So she's very good, very competitive chess player. Sorry. Okay, so and then the other hobby, the other hobby is to look out her window, and that is what the whole book is about. The woman in the window. So having a building has its perks. She can sometimes sit on the first floor or in the second floor and look out. Now there is a particular building facing her, and in between these two buildings is a park. So she has her Nikon or Nikon camera, and she sometimes zooms in into the room of the opposite building and sees what's going on. She doesn't try to spy or anything, just a glimpse, or if you may, something like that. So she doesn't spy into the bedrooms or whatnot, just into the living rooms and see what's going on in their families. So yeah, you can call her very curious or inquisitive and such, but yeah, that's what she does because she doesn't have friends. She doesn't like to get in contact with anybody. She has a physiotherapist called Bina, who comes in every week, once a week, and she puts her through her paces. So Bina, a physiotherapist, comes in and helps her to do certain physical workout. So that's what happens. And she has a family doctor who also visits her now and then. He has no fixed schedule or schedule. So he comes in and, as I said, now and then. So that's what happens. So now Anna Fox is living all alone, as we know by now, and she keeps looking out of the window now and then, once or twice a day, sits there for an hour or so. And she has seen quite a number of families moving out of a certain apartment facing her room on the second floor. And for some reason, she thinks that there has something to do, or there has to be something going on in that particular apartment because no family stays there for a long time. So she has seen over the past 2 years at least 4 families, 3 or 4 families, come in and move out. And now she saw another one, a new family coming in, a couple with their teenage son. The son seems all nice, very shy actually, and the father and mother are okay too. Um, she she didn't see the father and the mother as often as she saw the son at the window, so she doesn't really know how they look, at least till now. So let's progress here. One day, what happens, and now it gets a little exciting from here on. What I told you before this was background of Anna and her surrounding place. So now, one day she gets a visit from the boy who is the newcomer in the opposite apartment in the building. He comes in, rings the bell, and she's surprised to see this guy. Uh, she knows who he is because she had used her camera on their apartment, so she knows him, and he introduces himself as Ethan. His name is Ethan, and she tells him, "Yeah, I know who you are. I've seen you moving in with your family." And then she invites him in. He comes in, a very good boy, and they chat for a while about his school and stuff. Um, she offers him some soda or lime water or juice, and he's happy. He chats. There she comes to know, being a child psychologist from his body language, that he's a very shy, almost an introvert guy. But she doesn't offer to tell him as such because he didn't ask for it, and she doesn't want to come across as a doctor to him. He came out of his own free will, bearing a gift, which his mother had intended to give it to her, but she didn't get the time, so he came over. So it was a good gesture. So she didn't want to, spoil his mood for him, or start giving out antidotes for his behavior or nature. So she was behaving like a friend, and that happened. He left, and that very evening, his father came to her place, and for some reason, when she opened the door, she didn't know who he was at the first instance because she hardly saw their faces, the parents' faces. So he introduced himself as Alistair, Alistair Russell. So just remember the name Alistair. So Alistair apparently wasn't happy. She could tell from his face. He wasn't happy because he knew that his son had visited her, and he asked her so. She said, "Yeah, he had visited her, but there was, he came in with a gift that Alistair's wife sent. So he was still grumpy, and he left. While leaving, he said, "Did my wife come as well?" And she said, "No, I never saw your wife, never met her." So he said, "Okay, you need to stay away from my son." So she was taken aback by that statement, and she didn't know what to say, and he just left and slammed the door. So that was that. The next evening, she gets a visit from the mother herself, and she comes in again. Our protagonist, Anna, she doesn't realize who she is, but then she thinks that maybe she's the new woman, the mother of Ethan. And Ethan had mentioned her name, his mother's name, as Jane. So she says Jane. So when she comes, she calls her. "Oh, you must be Ethan's mother." And the lady immediately agrees, and yeah, she is because she is. So she comes in, they have a chat, and turns out that she also plays chess, but not as good as Anna. So they have a round, and unfortunately, Jane loses, and but then Jane also turns out to be a very very good artist. She can draw portraits, so she draws a picture of Anna and signs it as Jane, and then they have a good chat and she leaves. Anna keeps the picture for a while, not for a while, sorry. Anna keeps the picture because it's a very very good portrait. So she keeps it. After a few days, one day while Anna is doing her favorite things, looking out of the window, she sorry she hears she sees that there is something going on in the apartment opposite her window, and by judging by the hand gestures and the body language of the couple, she understands that they're having an argument or a fight and whatnot. And after a while, she hears a loud shriek, and she knows where it came from. So she calls up their place. Ethan had given their home number to Anna, so she calls them up, and Ethan picks up the phone, and she asks him that I heard a loud sound and a shriek, and was it your mother? She asks him, and he says, "Yeah, I'm sorry, he just lost his temper," and meaning he was referring to his father. So she understood, and but he said, but it's all right. It happens now and then. Nothing to worry about." And he keeps the phone, just hangs up. So she doesn't know what to do because he hung up, and so she just thinks that okay, well, it's a family issue, and she cannot go any further because there's a line you cannot cross, right? So she does that. She just keeps the phone and ignores. Then she gets back to her favorite thing again. She sits by the window with her Nikon camera and watches. What she sees this time is the lady, the same one who came to visit her, at the window, and something is sticking out of her chest. Okay, some silver metal, and then she understands fairly what it is. She's scared. She gets very very scared, Then she sees her sliding down with her hand on the window, and apparently it's blood. So she collapses. Who? Jane. So she knows that Jane has been attacked, most possibly murdered, and so um, she calls the cops. And this is happening all after 11 p.m. So it's night time, and she calls the cops, telling that there was a murder, or a woman was attacked in the building. She gives the address and whatnot, and she assumes that the cops will take some time to come, so she has to go out, run and see what happened, visit them. But as I said before, that she had never stepped out. Not never. She didn't step out of her house. Maybe few times in the past 2 years. So it's very hard for her every time she does so. And now being nighttime, but she knows what has happened, so she goes out. By the time she reaches the park, she faints. So she doesn't cross the park and reach the house, the apartment. So she faints. When she wakes up, it is morning, and she finds her doctor and a couple of detectives by her bedside. Sorry. So she thinks she just passed out for a few minutes, but it is actually hours. And so they tell her that they found her in the park, and that she's fine and she feels okay, but a bit drained out at the same time. So she asks that, did you find anybody in the apartment opposite mine? Because I saw that lady, and she was stabbed. Did you go there? And they are being very evasive of this question. So she doesn't understand why in the beginning. So in the end, the detective, a guy, so there are two detectives, a guy and the lady. The lady is junior to this detective. So she's the assistant detective. So he tells her that they went, but the person there told them that there was no noise, nothing, and nothing happened. So they didn't check the apartment, and she was flabbergasted. She was shocked to hear what she was hearing, because she clearly saw Jane getting stabbed. And these guys didn't even bother to go inside in the apartment and check out for themselves. So that was something unacceptable, right? For anybody who saw something happen. And um, so somehow she understood that they were thinking that she was hallucinating or making things up. I mean, not intentionally, but being in the house for 2 whole years, they think that she was a bit loony, a bit. So that's what. So they leave. The doctor leaves after a while, and she just can't believe what happened. So she gets back to her favorite thing, looking out the window, calls Ethan again, calls the house again. Ethan picks up at this time and hears her voice, but he keeps the phone. And she could see all this, Ethan picking the phone, because she could see the living room, and she couldn't do anything about it. So now, next day, she sees another woman, totally different woman, coming in that apartment with the family, and that keeps on happening for a few days. You see, a totally different woman. She doesn't see the Jane whom she met, who drew her portrait, and whom she saw getting stabbed. She doesn't see her. She sees an altogether new woman. And now, who is she? So she keeps looking. Nothing happens. Then one day, she sees the woman getting out of the house and going to the nearby cafe. And Anna is desperate to find out who she is, because she doesn't understand where Jane went. And so she wants to go and ask this woman who she is. and where Jane is. So she goes behind her and calls her, taps her on the shoulder and asks who she is. And she says, "Why? I am the lady in that apartment. We just moved a month ago or so. I'm Jane Russell." And Anna cannot believe that because she has met Jane. So she says that you're not Jane. Really, you're not Jane because I have met Jane. She was over in my house for coffee and we had a good chat. Who are you? You're an imposter. And Jane goes crazy. So she tells her to not bother her and whatnot, and just storms out. And then the same evening, she is paid a visit by Jane's husband, Alistair, who is again in not a good mood. So he comes in and tells her to stay away from her family. And this time, she confronts him. She says that she saw Jane getting stabbed, and something is wrong. The woman who is there is not Jane. I cannot believe that for 1 second. But he's adamant, he's mad, furious, breaks a few things in her house, so he's clearly out of line. But what can she do? A lone woman. She can do is just call the cops, but then again, they wouldn't believe her. So, well, that's that. After that, she sits. Days go by. Sits by her window with her Nikon. Looks across and to just wanted to find Jane looking back, and Jane waves frantically, telling to meaning to tell Anna to stop. Anna keeps her Nikon down and gets off the window. So that's that for that episode. Then days go by. Anna doesn't know what to do. She's then one day she then keeps seeing Jane all the time with Alistair and Ethan, and keeps following Jane. She does that again, and this time Jane calls cops. So the cops come in. Anna throws a tantrum. Alistair comes in as well at the same time because Jane has complained. So Alistair comes in. Alistair says a few words, abusive words. Anna loses it. She starts crying. The doctor is present as well. Now, there is one incident that happened the previous night, and that was she, when she was sleeping. No, not like that. She was sleep. Yeah, she sleeps a bit late because she's almost drunk every night. So one day morning, when she woke up, she saw that she had a photo of herself on the Nikon camera. No, I'm sorry, not a Nikon camera. Yeah, when she sits for her the session, the child psychology session, she sees that she has a mail, and she opens the link and sees her own photo, taken in the night of herself sleeping, and it was dated one day before, means the previous night. So it means that somebody was in the room and took her picture and had emailed to her. She calls the cops. They come in. Alistair comes in. Alistair comes in because this lady Anna was following Jane. So Alistair sees cops and he comes in to complain. He sees it as an opportunity, so he comes in as well. And so it's a big scene. Now the assistant detective has doubts. I mean, they all have doubts. So she just says it, like a stupid lady. What she says is that maybe you just clicked your own picture and sent it to yourself, because the account is a Gmail account and nobody can trace it back because it's hard, or possibly maybe close to impossible to um, you know um, track a Gmail account. So she couldn't believe her eyes. Anna doesn't know what to say. She just starts crying after a while because nobody believes what she's saying. Now they're accusing her of doing what she couldn't possibly have done in her sleep. So the detective, the main detective, then comes over and close to her, and he comes close to her and he holds her by the shoulder and tells her, Anna, we know what happened. We know you talk with your husband and child, Ed and Olivia, and we know what happened. We are sorry, but we think these are all delusions, and there is a reason for that. So the reason being, we know that they are no more. Yeah, that's the shocker of the whole story. That her husband and daughter passed away 2 years ago. Who she talks with um, are fictional. It's just a fragment of her mind because she just can't get over the fact that they are no more. And I can understand that it's difficult. If somebody loses someone that close, then it is difficult, right? But let's continue the story. So she is shocked to hear that from somebody after a long time. So she bursts into tears and he hugs her. She knows it to be the truth, and um, so that's the main reason why they doubt her. They think that she is a little loony because she can make up characters. So they think that she does that to keep herself occupied, and they don't blame her. They don't blame her. They are Thankfully, the detective is very kind. The assistant detective not so much, but she will learn. So he's kind. So they leave. Then the doctor leaves, and she knows, Anna knows that it's time to face it. And she had made a certain friend, an old lady, in her psychology session. It was a nice lady. She had opened up to her, and she had told only her about the tragedy that she had faced 2 years ago in the car crash. And she blamed herself because she was driving the car, and they both passed away. So that's that. But even then, she still chatted with Ed and Olivia as if they existed. She kept speaking. But from that day onwards, when the detective told her, she stopped. She stopped. She started to believe, and she told herself that it's time that she came to terms with reality. Uh, so after that incident, she still thought of the fact that somebody was in the room and somebody took her picture, because she hasn't done that kind of thing in a long, not even a long time. She never could do that. I mean, who can do that, right? So but just for the sake of it, she went and checked her cell phone, her iPhone, and to her shock or amazement or whatever you name it, there was her picture in her phone. It means that somebody took her picture from her own phone, or maybe she did it herself, because you need to lock the phone, right? You need to unlock the phone, right? How how would anybody do that? And she was just speechless that somebody took a picture. How? And and the email was sent to her. I mean, you can take a picture, right? You can take a picture. Sorry, somebody took a picture. They say you don't need to unlock the phone. But the real shock was when she saw that the email was sent to her using her own email address. It's made in her name. So it was made in her name, and she thought she can get into the email address by using a certain password. She tried a couple, and then she tried another one that was her daughter's name, and it opened, so that somebody had to know her daughter's name. So how would that be possible, right? I mean, she knows her daughter's name, and maybe Bina does. Yeah, of course, Bina does. Then her doctor does, and the guy in the basement does. But she was sure that he wouldn't do such a thing. Plus the fact that he wasn't there that night because he was on some errand out of the town, out of the city. So she doesn't know what to think. Somebody created an email using the password, which was Olivia, her daughter's name, and that is all way too far-fetched for her to do herself in the night, in the middle of the sleep when she was almost drunk. So let's continue the story. So that's that. So that was the big shocker. Then what happens is after a few days, not too many days, after 3-4 days, Ethan comes over and Ethan explains. He tells that so and so happened. He lost control. He hit her. But this is not a social visit. He came here to tell Jane secret. So and hope you're ready for this. So what happens is he tells her that yes, what you saw was right. She just looks at him. She doesn't know what to say. She just looks at him, and so she doesn't know what to say. And he says that yes, my father no, the woman that you saw is my real mother. Okay, she was totally wasted when she had me, so she had to sell me to this couple who I stay with now, and because she had no money or anything, and this couple, his parents now, they wanted a child, so it was the ideal situation for both of them. So he stayed with them, and now she came back again because she is now fine and she does well on her own, and she wants him back. But that is not really possible because the boy had grown up with a different couple who are parents for him, father and mother, and he knows nobody else. For him, they are his parents, and he, even though he knows the past, their parents were kind enough to tell him, he doesn't want to go back because he has no memories of her. How will a baby have a memory, right? So actually, this lady who was posing to be Jane, her real name is Kate, okay, or Catty. So let's call her Catty. Okay, Catty. So Catty came in. Catty sounds too sassy. Let's call her Kate. So Kate came in one fine day asking her son for a son, and I mean, she was not really forcing them, but she was trying to reason with them that, I don't know, but it was really bad reasoning without any foundation, and it wasn't going anywhere. So his mother Jane, in a fit of anger, she stabbed her, murdered her, and then the father, Alistair, took Kate's body and buried her in a certain place, which Ethan knows. So now Anna doesn't know what to do. Anna offers to call the cops and tell them the story, but Ethan says that, see, they're still my father and mother. I want to go and talk with them, okay? Even though my father is strict and whatnot, I want to give them a chance, telling them that I know what happened, and now you know what happened, and it's better that you come out yourself and give yourself in rather than calling the cops on them like a rat. So Anna understands that, and she leaves the situation in Ethan's hand, and Ethan goes. Then he doesn't call her. It's night, and she's just afraid that, I mean, I don't know what has happened. The curtains are drawn, so she cannot see anything in the other house, in the apartment. So she drinks a couple of wine, gets a little drunk, and then a little tipsy, and then sleeps off. In the middle of the night, say around 2 a.m. or something, she hears a noise. She has a kitten, maybe it was her, but she sees around nobody, and then she hears Ed's voice, her husband. But at this moment, she knows that she's not making it up. Her mind's not making it up at all. She clearly hears Ed's voice. She sits up, bolt upright, and she doesn't respond because she knows something's wrong, something is off. And then a light comes on, a lamp in the room, and she sees who else but Ethan. Ethan is in the room with her. Yes, this is another shocker. Really, really shock. This is really crazy. So Ethan is there, and she doesn't know what to say. I mean, she's not dreaming. She pinches her hard, and she realizes she's not dreaming at all. Ethan is there with um, a gun which apparently he stole from his father, of course. So she doesn't know what to do, and Ethan was talking to her like Ed. Uh, so I mean, he wasn't actually imitating his voice because he doesn't know, but still. And then she knows that something is off, that this child is off his rockers, or maybe more. So Ethan says, "Okay, so Anna, how are we doing? I know by now that you're surprised to see me, not just surprised, but shocked. And I'd like to clear a few things here. It was me who took your picture, sent you an email, and the lady who you were talking with, the grown-up lady, on that in the sessions that you were doing with her, that was again me. That is how I came to know about your family, about Ed and Olivia. So that was a lesson that don't trust anybody online, you know. Anybody can pose as anybody else and ruin you. So just play with your emotions, you know. So that was that, and Ethan then goes off to say that it wasn't his mother even who stabbed her, it was he himself. He stabbed his own real mother who gave him birth. He stabbed her because he couldn't take it anymore. She was showing up almost every day, asking for him, to see him, talk to him, and it was getting on his nerves. So he just went into the room when she was having a chat with his father, and he went and he just stabbed her with the knife. That's about it. Then the father, to hush up the matter, he buried her body. He buried Kate in that place, wherever. And so Ethan is here now. I'm very sorry. Not a gun. It was a knife, a very very sharp knife. Yes, a knife. So let's go on with it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm playing with this story, but I want it to be straight, the way it is. So it's a knife. So, but he's a young boy and with a knife, and so he's a dangerous guy to deal with. And she has nothing but her cell phone nearby. So Ethan sees that, tells her to give the cell phone. She gives it to him, and that's it. Then she doesn't even have to ask him why he did that. He's showing all signs of being a lunatic. So he tells her that you are a child psychologist, aren't you? So now is your chance to use some of your magic on me and see if if you can cure me or whatever. So she doesn't know what to say. She goes on to tell her that his father had to move with them because of the things that he did to ruin his father's career in his previous job. Ethan used to send lewd messages to his father's boss's wife. So that happened. Then he had um, problems with the teachers in school. So apparently he had problems with ladies, with females. I mean, he didn't hate them or anything, but he used to kind of harass them using foul language or sending lewd remarks. Um, all in all, he was disturbed in the mind, wanted something from certain females around him. So, so all this time, Anna realizes now that Alistair, his father, was actually not worried for his son, but he was worried for Anna, that his son may do something wrong to Anna. So she realizes that, and now Anna doesn't know what to do. Her phone's gone, and this guy is sitting with brandishing a knife. So she slowly gets up and she asks Ethan if he wants a drink or something or whatnot, and he says yes. And she seizes the opportunity, sees the stairs, and runs down. Ethan shouts and runs behind her, and but she knows the house well, right? She's been staying there for 2 years. She comes down to the first floor and hides in one of the closets. And on the first floor, there are 4 rooms. So Ethan doesn't know in which room she went in. Comes in slowly, checks out other rooms, and he's slowly about to come to the closet, but he has to pass the basement stairs. She comes out all of a sudden and pushes Ethan down the stairs. There he goes, and she again runs back up to the second floor. There, she has just one other place to go, which is upstairs, the attic. She goes up. Ethan comes after almost 2 minutes to see the attic door open and follows her upstairs. Attic is a little claustrophobic with her things from all those years, and she has to open the window and go out in the cold, in the New York cold, because it is that month, one of the cold months. Plus, it is raining, and so it's a bad night for her, really bad night. Ethan comes out of the window as well with his knife, and there they have a confrontation. Ethan is not listening to any reason. Obviously he has things on his mind. He wants to kill her, but she's the only one who knows the truth about what he did. So there is no way that he can let her go. So she only sees one way now, as a professional and as a mother herself. She tells him that what is missing? Love. You just need that. I know what your parents, they love you. They are not mean to you. You may be introvert. You may be doing some, things that you're not supposed to do, but it doesn't mean that they don't love you. If that was the case, they would have given you back to her, wouldn't they? So he doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know what to respond, how to respond. She hugs him all of a sudden when he's close by, in a tight grip, and he is taken aback. But he's struggling to, move, and she knows that he wants to stab her. So she doesn't let go. She hugs him tightly, and then all of a sudden pushes him backwards. There he goes, falls backwards into the attic again, crashes there, and sadly, by the fall on his head, he dies. So the young guy, Ethan, a teenager, passes away in a tragic accident. He sure needed help, and he could have got that, but she did that in self-defense, and the police saw it that way. His father agreed that he had issues, and his father and mother, they both are taken in because of the murder, and they know Ethan's behavior. That comes to light. All that is backed up by his boss, his father's boss, his Ethan's teachers, and everything. So Anna Fox is ready to walk away and live a good life. So that's what happens in The Woman in the Window. And the irony is that I'm showing you the window of the building which is opposite my window. So that really worked out well for this story. Hope you're feeling sleepy yet, or I don't know if you're listening to this while in the train or in the bus or in the flight. Whatever it is, leave down a comment if you're still awake. And I will try not to cough next time. Try to keep my voice level, the way it should be for a story, soothing, and my words, I'll try to make them more clear. So thank you very much for the patience. I know many of you must have just left it after halfway. But that's that. And thank you for listening. Alright, good night. See you. Take care.